I am Sudhanshu Shekhar, and I am the co-founder of AntWak. This is my third startup venture. Uh, I have close to 14 to 15 years of experience doing multiple things in my life. I started my first entrepreneurial venture when I was around 20 years old. We tried to build the first e-commerce of India way back in 2001 when internet was just starting. Things did not work out, but I learned a lot. Then, of course, I've done my engineering, I've done my MBA, I've worked in a bank, I have worked in IT, I've worked in BPO, I have worked in consultancy. So everything that is out there to do in the professional world, I have. Uh, but teaching is where I find my joy, and I have been teaching, uh, even while I was studying, even while I was working. I've been teaching. I've been helping MBA students, people who look to build their careers in the management, different spheres of management. That is what I specialize in, right? I'm a father of a 5-year-old daughter, and that is the biggest joy that I have currently, spending time with my daughter. uh, I am a writer, I'm a storyteller by profession, and that is what I do. So I hope that over the next 1 hour, whatever I know, I can share with you. Right? And you can put in the chat whatever questions you might have. We want to make this this is communication. First of all, let me tell you beforehand, communication is, of course, important. We will discuss that, but all of us face limitations too. There is not a single person in the world who can say that I do not face problems in communication, because communication is not about just how you speak. It is about how do you speak in different situations. How do you react to people around you? How do you react when life throws a curveball at you, right? So we'll discuss that. Let's make it interactive. If you have, we will have polls. If you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat window, and we'll try to take those questions, right? Or we will not be able to take all the questions possibly in the beginning, but towards the end, we will definitely try to. Okay. So this was all about me, and I welcome all of you once again to this masterclass on communication, right? And what are we going to discuss today? First is why communication is such. Everybody has been talking about communication, but why is it that we want to stress it again? What are the different limitations that people face? How do you possibly overcome those limitations, and how do you go about improving communication, your communication? All right. So the first thing is that there is a change. There is change that has always happened. There is a world called the Pantape, and this essentially means that everything is changing. And what is so unique about this saying is that it was not done today, it was not done tomorrow, it was done 600 BC. It was around 2700 years back. It was done, where people were worried about the pace of change. Today, we might feel that we are living in a world that is rapidly changing, but that is not just today. Nature evolves, people evolve, and everything that you see is changing. The way things were in your childhood, they are not the same. The way the things were in your parents childhood till the time they become grown-ups, it was different. And the way it will change when your kids grow up, the pace and the way, at the pace which the change is taking place might be different, but change is constant, and change will always happen. To give you a very simple idea around what change we are talking about is, to just look at this statement. Till 1950s, it was impossible to diagnose a person with a congenital heart disease. So if somebody had a congenital heart disease, you would face different problems, but it would never be diagnosed, and it would only be confirmed in postmortem. So it was impossible to diagnose a person with a complex heart disease while he was alive. And in the last 60 years, the medical systems, the equipments, that the technology has evolved so much that today it is possible to diagnose congenital heart disease even before birth. Even when no, the fetus is in the womb, it can be discovered. Not just that, but in certain cases, it is also possible to do a corrective surgery before birth. So even while you're in womb, a corrective surgery can be made. So this is the scale of change that has happened. No, uh, from being to a place where it could not be delivered, discovered, and diagnosed properly, to a place it can be cured even before birth. That is the span. That is the change that has taken in a lifespan. 60 years is, 67 to 70 years is an average lifespan. So in a person's life span, this is the amount of change that has taken. And let's discuss that the direction of the change. It's not just about the change, it is about the direction of the change. So see, in a medical consultation, it is, there are different steps, different, it starts with being, the parapedic step, the prognosis, the diagnosis, therapy, surgery, and recovery. So the first thing is, you go to a doctor, you say that, these are the different ailments, these are the symptoms I'm facing. Depending on the symptom, the doctor would do the body inspection, take the blood pressure, take your weight, take your BP and other things, and then he or she would give you a prognosis, or that doctor's opinion based on experience as to what is wrong with you. And then again, he would give some, some medicine, but that will not be your final medicine. The first thing that he would go for is a diagnosis. He would put you under multiple tests. He could you could, blood test, sugar test, and multiple tests, right? And when the test results have come, based on the diagnosis, there is a therapy. You might be advised that, you these are the medication you should take, these are the this different therapy procedures, these are the rest that you can, this kind of rest you should take, and all that. And finally, if there is a need, you need to undergo a surgery. And finally, god willing, and the right uh, diagnosis and the therapy, you will recover, right? And let's see, uh, now, even what are the different, in all the different steps, the first part and the second, the prognosis is dependent on a person's experience. Diagnosis these days is completely lab driven. You give your blood, you give your you undergo different tests, and all of that is now driven by machines. So the results, that the most of the tests, the results of all those tests, all that you need from a person is a signature to certify, wow, this is correct. But this is mostly a machine's job. Therapy now has become a very, depending on the diagnosis, there are ready-made softwares available, which can tell you that if you have this is what you should do. So therapy has been automated to a large extent, and it can be completely automated in the future. Surgery, there are operational challenges of people doing surgery. Now we have robotic surgeries going on, right? And then of course surgery is a lot psychological and physiological. So these are the two places where H stands for human interventions. You know, diagnosis, therapy, and surgery in the coming days could be fully automated, while prognosis and recovery will still remain a doctor's job. So a doctor of tomorrow, he or she need not be very, no, of course they need to undergo their education, they need to understand the different procedures, but their biggest role would not be to advise the therapy, because that would be already available with them. Their biggest skill set as a doctor would be to give their opinion based on experience and help people in recovery, which both of which are human interventions, human interpersonal skills. Even as a doctor, the biggest skill set for you in the future would be, how do you establish relationships, how do you communicate with people, how do you make your people be at ease, because machines are there to help you with the rest of the things. The skills of the future, you know, what we did 50 years back, 80% of those jobs have been either considered redundant or they're going to be automated. Similarly, what is going to happen tomorrow, we don't know. What are the jobs of tomorrow 30 years down the line? We don't know. What are the skill set required to do those jobs? We don't know, right? McKinsey has this report which says that it has taken a shot at saying what are the skills of the future. And if you look at this, I don't want to read out through the slides, but these are the most important skills of future. They are going to be communication and interpersonal skills. How do you interact with people? Because believe you me, I am from a banking domain. M- Most of the things we can do in a banking can be automated, and we people tend to make mistakes, and machines don't. So the better we get at making writing codes, the better we get at machine learning and AI, our machines will get more perfect. So either the future of work will require human interventions at two places where you have to interact with other humans. So that is where your communication and interpersonal skills will be of paramount importance. Secondly, is where it is a very specialized job, something that you cannot possibly depend on the machines to do, or you want an external validation of what the machine has given, right? But as the machines get better at that, that also will possibly not require machines, human intervention. So Mufaddal, we'll get to that. We'll get that to storytelling, right? So communication and interpersonal skills, these are the two core competencies that will be required tomorrow. And why should we talk only about tomorrow? Why not today, right? So the first thing is, there have been multiple, I have faced it, I know many of you might face it, that other people tend to steal your work, take credit for your work. The people steal your thunder just because you are not able to communicate well, right? Similarly, many of us, we struggle at interviews even when we know all the questions. It's the jitteriness that you feel when you go into an interview. Even at workplaces, do we find it difficult to say no because we are, it is not, we are not able to communicate our feelings. We don't want to hurt other people. And also, there are some people, since they are introvert, they don't put themselves, their feelings in as many words as required. They are perceived as arrogant. Now, there would be some people whom you would feel that they are arrogant, but it's just that they're not arrogant, but they're not able to convey their feelings in the words that are required. They might be struggling inside to find the right words to communicate with you and me, but they are not. And since they are not speaking, you might be construed as arrogant. You know, uh, and what happens in all of the circumstances, all the four circumstances that we have discussed, either you feel tongue tied, somebody steals your thunder, you do perform badly at an interview, or you have to do something that you did not want to do. Every time it happens, it takes a toll on your mental health, and eventually it results in an outburst, and it results in an outburst at a place where it is not required. you know you might be facing some issues at work, somebody might be stealing the credit that you require at work, but you would eventually burst at possibly your partner, your husband or your wife or your close friend. To some cases, they're your kids, your puppies, you know and that outburst is misdirected, and you end up saying things you do not want to. And and it all happens because you have problems communicating, right? So why is mastering communication important? First, is the communication is a competency you require to survive in a workplace today. You need to interact with different people. You need to be able to work around difficult situations. The situations that you get into, you should be able to handle them. You should be able to run meetings. You should be able to talk to people. You should be able to lead teams, right? Even beyond that, communication and communication will make you future proof. As soon as you go into a meeting, technical skills, everything is, every answer that you give, you are also graded on your communication skills. And not just that, communication is key to your confidence and your emotional health. If you are able to communicate your feelings well, you should be able to, it will help you. It will be a boost to your emotional health. So it is time for a poll. Let's Diksha, can we run a poll very quickly? So let's try to understand what are the different limitations that people have. Please take a very, this is a one, no, you guys can very quickly take this poll and tell us what is your barrier to effective communication. Okay, I see some very interesting results. So I see people saying that my language skills are not good, I lack confidence. Some people have said I communicate too much. Uh, I'm nervous around new people and new environment. I am usually confident, but sometimes meetings they get on my nerves. I suffer brain freeze when under pressure. I get distracted while talking. Super. Uh, so we have all the answers, right? Different answers. Okay. We will run it for a minute. We'll just run it for a minute. So another last 10 seconds, we can quickly vote, right? It gives us an idea of, you know uh, the kind of challenges that we feel, right? So let's end the poll and share the results. Okay, so 33% of the people in this group of around 50 people, I guess I'm not seeing how many people are there, but I guess there are around 50 people. 33% have said that my language skills are not good. Around 25 people have said that they lack confidence. uh, 21% people have said that they are not very fluent. Their people are nervous around new people and environment. And also, people who are usually confident, when they get into a pressure situation, they do not do well. All right. So what are the barriers of communication? The first is language. As we have said that my language skills are not good enough, right? So it's about grammar, it's about sentence structure, it's about the accent. You might feel that, my language skills are not up to the mark. Every time I open my mouth, I end up making mistakes. I also, uh, you know, mm, my accent is not proper. People make fun of my accent. The second is the knowledge. If when you go for a meeting, if you're not prepared for it, if you don't have expertise on your topic, that is a big barrier in communication. And it also, we'll talk about it, how it takes an impact, a toll on the other things as well, right? So if you go to a meeting with salespeople, if you go to a meeting with, say, digital marketing guys, if you don't know what are the jargons they use, it sometimes kind of throws you off. Similarly, cultural adaptation. If you go and talk to people who follow different cultures, and you're not, very you're not used to that culture, that you should be kind of aware of it before you go. We'll talk about each of these. Vocabulary, of course, is a very important part of language. There's a physical limitation. Some people might have speech disorders, you know some people, not everybody is as vocal, not everybody is blessed with the skills when it comes to the uh, oral communication and other things, right? And also there is, we are talking digitally, so there is a physical limitation when you come to digital world, right? We might be talking on Zoom or Hangout, and the Wi-Fi breakdowns, that is also a physical limitation. The other part is the environment, and it is very important of where you're talking. When we talk about, we saw the different results of why people have different difficulties in communication. The first thing that, one thing that a lot of people said, that I am usually confident. So you can measure the scale of your confidence and your communication skills on multiple parameters. The first is, are you confident even amongst the people you are very very familiar with? So do you communicate well within your family, your friends, your partner? So this is the first level of communication that we should all think about. Where is my confidence or my communication level? If we are not able to communicate very clearly with our partner, with our family, with our friends, then that is a separate challenge. That is, you need to map where you are. If you're comfortable with your close ones, but as soon as you go to your workplace, when you see people, your colleagues, your bosses, your confidence takes a beat and your communication suffers. That's the second category of problem. And some people might be comfortable. I see my boss every day, I see my colleagues every day, so I'm also confident with them. But when I go for a team meeting where I have to present amongst 10, 15 people, that is where I start suffering, right? Some people might be saying that, okay, internal meetings I'm pretty good at. I make presentations in the class, I go for a presentation with the client, I'm pretty comfortable with that. But if I have to do a public speaking, that is where I start feeling nervous. So these are the different categories of your, not categories, but you can say that, this is the scale on which my confidence and my communication is. And you need to identify where the problem is. That is the first part, right? And the final is, and possibly the biggest, is the psychological limitations. It is about your lack of confidence. How do you keep your emotions in check? Different phobias people have, phobia of going on the stage, public speaking. If you have, some people are scared of people and all these things, and you don't know how to deal with different people. So attitude of people is also something that kind of helps you, that throws you off the ground, right? So let's talk about one. So this is a picture of the current G7 summit that happened, right? So here, if one thing, anybody can possibly unmute and say what is there. Can anybody raise their hands and say something about this picture? Would anybody like to volunteer? Anybody would like to raise their hand and say what is so special about this picture? So we have a thumbs up coming from somebody. Who is that person? That person is Basav Raj. Basav, would you like to say something?
Hi, good evening, sir.
Hi, Mahesh.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can. Please go ahead.
Uh, Looking at the picture of the G7 summit, we can say that these guys are standing in a confident way. They
Yeah,
are not afraid, of standing in the group, or they are not afraid of giving pictures.
yeah,
And the body language is saying that we are completely okay with, standing in a group.
yeah. Super.
That's what I feel.
Super. That is one way of looking at it. Anybody else wants to take a shot?
Yes, Sudhanshu, Shubhra here.
Yes, Shubhra, please go ahead.
I mean, amongst all the world leaders standing over here, I think Angela Merkel's body language is pretty positive. I mean, the way she's standing with her hands quite confidently up. If you see everyone's hands, they all, it looks like, they're a little underconfident as compared to the lady. I mean, the way she's standing up with, equal aplomb, and, she has a smile on her face, which is pretty confident and welcoming. So yeah, amongst all, I think she's the one who looks quite confident. Even the lady standing behind, though her hand is like raised up, but she's trying to hide one hand of hers in front of the other.
So yeah,
So yeah,
right.
body
So
language.
body language is, you can see different body languages. And the one thing that is very very remarkable about this picture is that out of 9 people, only 3 people speak English. There is Justin Trudeau, who speaks both French and English. Joe Biden, he speaks English. Boris Johnson speaks English. Emmanuel Macron speaks French. Angela Merkel, she speaks German.
German.
We have the prime minister of Japan. We have Mario Draghi from Italy, he speaks Italian. We have two representatives from EU who also speak French. So we have people, 9 people in this picture, out of which only 3 people speak English. Okay. So one thing that I tell people first is it is impact over language. You know, we all are so consumed by the idea of speaking perfect English. When the and I no, none of the meetings could possibly be more important than these guys. Okay. So these are possibly these most powerful men and women on the planet, and every hour that they discuss has substantial impact on the entire world, on the economy, on the political situation, whatever they discuss. And if they don't have a common language that they can speak, do you think that is a deterrence? No, it is not. What the thing that I wanted to say here is that there are 3 aspects of a conversation. The first is the visual aspect, how you look, how you carry yourself. A lot of comments that came around how people look confident, how they are carrying themselves. That's the visual part of it. The third part is the vocal, as to what is your tone, what is your volume. Even if a person is angry, irrespective of whatever language they are angry in, you will understand, right? And the third part is the verbal, the words that you use to communicate. And we've put so much emphasis on the words that we speak, and look at the numbers. So there was this has been done multiple times. The impact that each of these have on your communication, how the person in front of you will judge you or understand you, it is 55% about how you look and how you carry yourself. The words that you use or the English that we are obsessed with is only 7%. 93% of the time it is how, if you have to sound confident, you will sound confident, right? If you have that body language, if you, as Shreya said, you putting your different types of postures. How do you stand, how do you sit, how do you put your legs, where do you put your hands while you enter your room, who are you facing, where you are you trying to find a corner in the room for yourself so that you don't have to communicate with the rest of them. All of that have an impact. Your eye movement, your eye contact, do you look at people? I'll give you a very fine example. And the first thing that I always want to tell is that you should be a good professional. If you do your work well, if you have to be a good student, if you are good student, very very good. If you are a good professional, very good. And then it is about the message. If you can deliver your message in the best way possible, you should think about that. You should think about the impact of the message rather than the language that you choose, and also the medium that you choose. It is not necessary that you speak all the time, you be a very good communicator, you have all the right body language, you have the right facial expression, only then you are a good communicator. It is not necessary. If you can get the message across on WhatsApp group and get the word delivered, it's good enough. Today we live in a world. How many of you have seen a UN procedure, some UN General Assembly meeting? There are people from close to 200 different countries, and they possibly speak 150 different languages. It is not possible for anybody to master language and all the languages, right? So we all have a wonderful device in our hands, which is a mobile phone, right? So these guys, they wear a headphone which kind of uh, translates whatever that person is speaking. It's pre-recorded though in UN. But now we all have a phone. If you speak in Tamil, it can convert whatever you want to say in English. So don't let your language limitations define you. That's the first thing. Can you learn to communicate despite the challenges that you have? Okay. If your language is not up to the mark, you're having your grammar is not up to the mark, can you still get your message across? The one example that always comes to my mind is of Mr. Kapil Dev. Now he has improved a lot, but when he was the captain of India, he was not a great communicator in English. Okay, so in 1983, when India won the World Cup, he came on an interview, and of course he said a few words, but he said, "I was more worried about that interview than winning the World Cup itself." The first thing is, Mr. Kapil Dev is supposed to be a fine cricketer, and he was a mighty fine cricketer. Was he supposed to be a good communicator? I don't think so. And the second is, even if he had a very important message to give, if that message was important, okay, even if he said that in Hindi, people who want to understand that message, they would have translated it. How many of you recently saw the impact Cristiano Ronaldo had on Coca-Cola prices? Right? So it was a very simple incident. There was a match conference, post-match conference going on. He had some Coke bottles in front of him. He put it away, picked up a bottle of water, and one word he said, aqua, which is the water for water in Portuguese. So if your message is, even if it is short, even if it is in a different as long as the impact of the message is paramount, people will take effort to understand you. You know, in India, we have a slight obsession with English, but people in France, they don't. They speak their language, they're pretty comfortable with. I understand it comes from our diversity. We speak so many language amongst ourselves that English becomes one medium ground for everybody to communicate in. But I foresee a future where a person who can speak only Tamil becoming a CEO of a multinational company, because language problems will not be a challenge going forward. So if you feel, first of all, that language is something that is holding you back, we need to talk about it. Okay. The second is preparedness over knowledge. Knowledge, lack of knowledge. Knowledge is power, and if the more you know, the more confident you will be. It is as good as going into an exam. If you know everything, you will write your paper, you will be super confident, and you will be out in a jiffy. But if you don't, you will, you'll look around, you will be confused, you will possibly try to look at your friend, what he or she is writing, can I get some help? If you go into a meeting, if you know everything about that meeting, and if you have rehearsed, you will be more confident. And the other thing is, what other people, some of the reasons that came out in the poll was, I am usually confident in my surrounding, but when I meet new people, when I get into a new environment, I feel a little jittery. Okay. So there is something called as acing the room. I was recently watching a movie called, not a movie, a series called Atypical. I don't know if guys have seen it on Netflix. It is about a kid who is on the autism spectrum, right? So that guy is autistic, so he has his own problems communicating, and he feels very, very jittery whenever he goes to a new place, because he feels confident when he knows what's coming at me. Okay. So this happens to all of us when we know how people will react. When we are in familiar settings, we know what to expect, then we are all confident. But that confidence takes a hit when we get into a circumstance or a environment which we are not exposed to. So what his family does in that series, for that person, for that kid to make that person comfortable at family dinners, when if there was a family dinner that was supposed to happen in a hotel, so he was not very confident going there because he doesn't like public places and he doesn't know how that place is. So they go do ace the room. What they do is, they the entire family goes to that hotel. you know they look around what's there in the hotel, different things, they eat food there, they spend some time there to acclimatize themselves. So if you are going to talk about something, familiarize yourself. If you're going to speak at a new place, if you're going to speak in a meeting, please go familiarize yourself. And I'll tell you the other secret. This is the third part. Uh, One thing is that a lot of cricketers, what happens is, cricketers, they try to, they have to play in different environments. It is not able to familiarize yourself with everything. You might be playing a test match in England. After 2 months you might be playing in Zimbabwe. It's not necessary that you know. So what do, Sachin Tendulkar used to do this. So before half an hour of the match starts, or a day before the match starts, that person would go on the pitch and just imagine himself batting. And in an empty stadium, he would familiarize himself before he starts doing that. And the third thing is, when it is not possible, a lot of people have their own ritual. So the few simple things that people do, before, you get, there's a mental preparedness that you can do. Say you take a shower before the match starts, then you have a, fruit juice of your choice, then you listen to some music. So Sachin used to listen to Kishore Kumar or Dire Straits songs. You listen to those songs, then it's like about, I don't know if anybody has here has a baby, but I have a 5-year-old daughter. So they have a process. When they go to sleep, they need to do these five things, and then they know it is time to sleep. So when it is setting an order, doing a small ritual before they feel comfortable, and they sleep. They're comfortable enough to go to sleep. So if you have to make yourself comfortable, start doing things that make you comfortable. Something that has worked for you. Maybe talking to a person that is close to you, listening to some songs. You want to, coffee is not advisable, but if you want to say have a black tea or a black coffee, that makes you have some water. If you can create a small ritual. And also, when people, even if when people say that I have the knowledge, still I feel underconfident, the thing that you should try to do is deliver short and in simple words. Use the minimum words that you can to deliver the message. So again, it is about the message and your preparedness going into it. Okay. The third thing that we want to talk about here is acceptance over your physical limitations. All right. We are all so consumed about, our physical limitations. Some No, I'm not talking about physical limitations that possibly need medical interventions. I'm not an expert to give you an advice on that. But first is accept who we are. If we stutter, this guy is Rowan Atkinson. He's Mr. Beans. I'm very sure all of you know this person. And we all know Hrithik Roshan. Hrithik Roshan was, and Abhishek Bachchan was dyslexic. This guy used to stutter in childhood. And this guy everybody knows. He's Mr. Joe Biden, current president of America, right? And he still stutters. If So the problem is not your stuttering. So overcoming stuttering does not mean that you do not stutter. Overcoming any physical or psychological limitation doesn't mean that if I do this today, I will not do that tomorrow. If I become nervous before a meeting, I will do 5 things that will not make me nervous in the next meeting. That is not going to happen. Overcoming any limitation means the idea that that limitation will not hold me. Sachin Tendulkar, again, I go back to Sachin Tendulkar and his, so he said, even while I was going for my last test, I had butterflies in my stomachs. Even going for his 100th test, he was nervousness. Nervousness is good. It is how do you integrate that nervousness. Nervousness means that you're eager for it. You want to take it forward. A little bit of stress is all right. And how can you take that stress as a positive sign? Okay, I'm kind of getting ready for it. Now this is my body reacting to something new. Can I take it head on? Overcoming limitations means that you can do whatever you want to do, even with that limitation. All right. So please, uh, if you feel it is not about just any limitation. It is not about just physical limitation. Any limitation that you have, first accept who you are. Okay, you might be a person who doesn't have brilliant English, or you might be uncomfortable around people. So next time I know that I'm going into a meeting, I'm bound to make mistakes. Can I write a note? Can I write some pointers that I want to discuss? Can I write entire letter if I want, if I have to give something very very important to somebody, to make sure that I do not falter? Can I write it on a piece of paper? Can I possibly make a audio recording and send it beforehand, so that the message and the delivery is more important? The idea of a communication is, there is a person A who wants to send a message to a person B through a medium, and the entire focus should be that the message should be complete, and the meaning of the message doesn't change. How you deliver the message does not matter. You write it. We have seen movie scenes where heroine gives you get the number on a napkin or on a phone. It's the same thing. As long as the purpose of the communication is complete, you are done. So if no, we should all act, and we are talking strictly from a professional angle. People, how do they react in professional space? A lot of people say that, I use fillers, I use the idea of a good communicator is not that you never say that's not the thing. The idea of a good communicator is, can you get the message across to the people with whom you are communicating, in a way that the message is complete and its message is not changed, and it is delivered and understood in a way it is supposed to. If you get that done, I think you should be okay. Right? That's the first part. And the second part is, if you have a problem, please tell people. It could be that, say that, it's very simple. Have you guys ever gone on a meeting where the person says, I'm having a slight cough, so I will not be very loud today? So if you're facing a challenge, please be vocal about it. Say that, you can say that, I don't hear very well, can you speak a little bit loud? Or you can say that, my English is not well, but I will try to communicate the best I can. So whatever challenges that you face, can you communicate it to the people? Again, I will give you a very good example from the same series, a typical, that I was talking about. Here, that person is autistic, and he gets very jittery whenever there is loud music. So he has a girlfriend in that series, and she takes that extra step of informing that, this person is autistic and he doesn't like loud music. So can we have the a silent prom? So nobody likes the idea of a silent prom, so they go about having a silent music night, right, with the headphones on, the way we did it in that Ranveer Kapoor movie. So if people are sensitive, people want to be inclusive, people want to give you a benefit of doubt, we should always believe that the person in front of us is empathetic. If I tell that person that, I have these challenges, they will listen to us, and they will take that into consideration. So instead of worrying about it, we should communicate it, and also be empathetic to the needs of other people. If somebody says that, I have a similar problem, how can I be inclusive about it? Right? If somebody says that, most of the time it's kind of like a caricature in movies where, you see somebody saying that, I cannot hear, so people start shouting on the top of their voice. That's not the right way. So is it like, can I send you a message? Can I possibly write it to you, give it to you? What is the best way to communicate with a person given that situation? So it is not, a person cannot hear is not necessarily that person's limitation. It could be about the environment. You could be at a place where, the things are really bad. There is a lot of loud music, or you could be communicating on the phone and the network is really bad. It is not about your physical limitation itself. But if the network is bad, what is the best you can do? Can you send that person a text? Can you send that person an email? Right? So we need to get over the limitations. A lot of these limitations are, you know in our minds. So the first thing is, we'll talk about uh, the psychological limitations, or part of it. And this is this so let's take the example of unpredictable environment. All right. So say this happens in a offices a lot. There's a business meeting that is scheduled for in another 15 minutes, where you have to present a new proposal. There are multiple stakeholders who are going to be in the place. When you reach the conference room, you see that there's another meeting already going on. Okay, so you try really hard, but you could only arrange for a small room for a meeting. Okay, so what goes wrong here? The first thing that goes wrong is, because of the last minute hustle that you have to do, it it emotionally drains you out. Even if you manage to get a room, you would be a little exhausted. You would not be as much up to the task as you would have liked to be. So this last minute unpredictability is something that we should avoid. Plan ahead, right? uh, can we, if you're going to speak in a place, can you know how many of you have taken an exam, not now, possibly earlier in your career, where you have to go to a new city and then give an exam? So during my engineering days, this is what I used to do. So I gave my engineering exams over a course of a month in 6 different cities. So, and I did it with my friends. So what we would do is that we would go to the city 3 4 days before the exam is there. A day before the exam starts, I would go to the center so that I would note down the bus numbers that goes there, right? If I start doing this, if my exam is at 10 o'clock and at 8 o'clock I try to explore a new place, there's a lot of unpredictability that I can expect. Wha- Even after doing this, the bus can break down. So there the risk is always there. But what is the best you can do to meet that risk is by planning ahead. Again, ace the room, as we have spoken about. Do your preparedness about the environment. Do your preparedness about the people that you're going to talk about. It's about who you are talking to, why you are talking, what will you be going to talk, what you will talk about. So create audience personas. What kind of people I'm going to meet. What are the different attributes of those people that I can get? Can I talk to, what age group they would be, what gender they would be, which city they would be from, what would be their background? So that is understanding your audience and planning your thought as well, right? So what is it that am I going to talk about? Can I narrow it down? Can I start with a very simple dot dash? Can I make notes? If I'm going to, can I make a ppt, or I can make a, I can write something on quickly on my notepad? That kind of preparedness is very, very important. And the first thing, the last thing that we have spoke about is that having those simple rituals for your mental preparedness. Can I do some meditation 10 minutes before going into this? And can I get some water? Or can I take a 5 minutes walk around my office before I take that call? Can I clear my head, listen to some music, talk to a loved one? Can I talk to my partner, my boyfriend or girlfriend, and just hear somebody reassuring voice that calms me down before I go for a very important meeting. So these are things that people do. And we will talk about a very important aspect, which is getting over the psychological limitations that we have on ourselves. But before that, let me talk about AntWak. I'm the co-founder of AntWak, and we are an experiential learning platform. And here we look at education very differently. Education, we have all come from the best schools in the world, having done 15 18 years of education, and the first realization into a professional world is that professional world is very different. I'm not saying that you don't need the theoretical knowledge that you get in the schools and college, but what is required in a professional world is not something that our schools and colleges prepares us for. And that is where we come in. We are looking to bridge the industry academia gap, and we have more than 3,000 professionals from 500 top brands who come and collaborate with us. So you take a name, you name people from Amazon, Google, Microsoft, McKinsey, any big name Fortune 500 companies, Indian national companies. We have people from 30 different companies who are working, 30 different uh, nationalities who are working with us, and they bring their uh, hands-on knowledge, learning powered by their learnings. What they have learned in life, what are the things that have gone wrong, and how what they have learned from those mistakes. And contrary to most of the learning platforms out there. It is like a glorified YouTube where you have a lot of pre-recorded videos, take a test and get a certificate. It is not like that here. It is live immersive classes, and it is not just classes. It's a very immersive live interaction. We get weekly projects, you get case studies, you get tools, and you learn from them. And we are launching our own growth MBA. We people spend so much time, 2 years doing an MBA, and there was a funny video out there that's called a 2 minute MBA, saying that after what do you remember after doing a complete MBA is just supply and demand, right? So that shouldn't be the case. We will learn with industry leaders who have led global teams. We have built startups from scratch. You will have people from McKinsey, you will have people from ICICI, people from IIT, IIMs, national and level international companies who will come and teach you. Okay. Not just that, we will have industry leaders from different startups, VCs, who will come and interact with that cohort on a weekly basis. So learning is not so we will talk about different things that the most important things that are required to make you a successful professional. We'll talk about strategy, we'll talk about importance of finance, the art of selling. We'll talk about marketing. And one thing that I remember Elon Musk said that college is not for learning, it is for fun. So if you have had your fun from whatever college you're passed out from, if you want learning, you can come to AntWak. And we believe, and we have learned it the hard way, that learning is not, or success at workplace is not just a factor of your technical knowledge. It is how you work in a team, how you communicate well. That is why we had this session on communication, and we will have more such sessions. We will have entire session on professional skills, like how do you solve problems, how do you work in teams, how do you communicate well, how do you manage different stakeholders, how do you build a team, right? How do you have an entrepreneurial mindset? And we learn all this from practicing professionals, right? And MBA is not just about your technical knowledge, it is about the community. How well do you learn within yourself? It is all a lot about your conditioning, about your coaching. How do you plan for growth? How do you learn from people who are solving problems worldwide? So this is going to be a 24-week six this is 6 months program, so it will be a 24-week program which will have 200 plus hours of live lectures. And we'll have people coming in every week interacting with people. We'll have access to the 3000 plus mentors, 100 plus hiring partners that we have in our cohort, right? So this is the program. If you want to become a PNL owner, you want to take ownership of your work. There are different PNL. Nowadays, a lot of startups look for PNL owners, people who can take the responsibility, the accountability, and ownership of work that is dedicated to them. Okay, if you want to be that person, this is the program that I invite you for. Okay, uh, we will put the registration for that program in the chat windows. Do click. It is a it's a and one thing that is different from the other MBAs is that you have to spend 2 years, spend upwards of 10 lakhs up to 1 crore rupees if you have to go outside, and you have to of course do it full time. This MBA program will be online. It will be 6 months you can do with your job, and it will be priced at 1.5 lakhs. We have EMI options available. So click on the link, and we'll very quickly move to the last thing that we want to discuss today, is the psychological limitations that we have on ourselves. Okay. Also, Diksha, please launch the feedback, guys. Now this is a initiative brought to you by AntWak Masterclass. Please give your feedback. We want to improve. We are a bunch of very enthusiastic people. We have been in the industry, and now we have created a startup which truly wants to change the way education is done in the world. So please give your feedback. First is what we want to talk about: psychological limitation. Is just like accepting who you are, accept your limitations. It's perfectly fine to be faulty. We are all so enamored and obsessed with perfection. I have to look beautiful, I have to sound perfect. There is so definitions of beauty, definitions of how we should behave. What don't go by what society tells you, accept who you are. Okay. uh, the psychological limitations of, I'm not sounding enough good enough, I need to be very good in the language that I speak about, and all these things. Please, can we think beyond this, right? And one thing that I'll tell you is, when everybody is born, we are all very fairly confident. It is our confidence takes a beating in steps. If somebody says something, you say something, you're not it is not accepted, your confidence takes a beating. Your confidence is also broken in steps, it is also built in steps. So you have to take baby steps towards building your confidence, building your communication skills. So can you start by doing something very, very simple? you know, can we start something that, very it could, and those baby steps need not be related to communication at all. It could be as simple as that, can I quit smoking? No, I know it is not a simple step, it is one of the hardest thing that I have done in my life. But once you do that, it gives you so much confidence on yourself. It can start by, can I walk for a mile today? It could be as simple as that. Or it could be that I will speak truth about myself. Okay, the baby steps are taken. It's you conditioning your own brain, right? So if I don't, I will be true to everybody that I meet today. If I don't like the food, can I say very clearly? Can I be a little selfish and, first can I put myself first and take decisions according to it? Can we say, the first thing is that understanding your emotional triggers, what irks you, what you don't like, what kind of makes life difficult for you. uh, you know uh, People saying things that, if people talk in a high tone, you don't like it. If these are all the cases, if you don't if you yes, Harish, you're going to say something. So if there are emotional triggers that, challenge you, that, kind of throw you off the ground, please understand those emotional triggers. And a lot of distraction, the first poll that we had, it was focused around, you know I get distracted sometimes. So if you get distracted easily, please, can we, first of all, when you're talking about something, can we keep the phone away? All right. I keep the phone just to give the demonstration, but it is switched off. uh, can we focus on here? Can we focus on now? Okay. Can we not think about anything else? This is also one step that you can try for a baby step. Today I will go for a half an hour meeting where I will not be distracted. Can we start doing this? A lot of work is around positive affirmations, saying that given the limitation that I have, what are the good things about it? Okay, what can I do to address it? I know that my English is not good. So the first is, what are the things can I do about it? First is, okay, even if my English is not good, I will talk to somebody for 2 lines in English today. Even if I make a mistake, I will talk. And the second is, every day I will learn a new word. Can you do that? Every day, I will read newspaper for some time. One thing that I tell people who want to improve their English is, uh, use recordings. Record your own voice. Record your own voice just reading out something. Take a book. While this is my daughter's book, take a book, take a newspaper, and record yourself just reading it out. You will benefit a lot from that. You record yourself, video record yourself making whatever you have read. Can I revise it in my own words? Can I record it? Right. This will help us, right? And information, there is a lot of things that people say. People will say good things about you, people will say bad things about you. Can we avoid information? Can we be selective in what we hear? Takes good care of ourselves. All right, so that is. And there is a lot of trust deficit in India. We go to meetings with preconceived notions, but we should walk into rooms with an open mindset, be ready to hear, be ready to hear whatever people in front of us are ready to say. Okay. And as I said, be in the mistake in the beginning, practice. Be prepared to make mistakes. If you make mistakes, it's absolutely fine. Okay. uh, mistakes, if you make, it only means one thing, that you're learning and you're trying out new things. If you're not making mistakes, it means that you're not trying out new things. So making mistakes is absolutely fine. We need to get that, this is one thing that you should try it out. If first time, if I make mistakes, people, they start hitting themselves. If they don't physically hit themselves, they say bad things to themselves. How can you do it? You're such a loser and all these things. Self talk is very, very important. How do you take care of yourself? Just the way you take care of a baby, you should take care of yourself. If can you talk good about, okay, it's, even if you fail doing something, this was fine, I tried my best, next time I will do better. Okay, this was a small mistake that I made, but it's all right, I'm learning from it. And can you know, my friend Joy, who's also the CEO of this company, he talks a lot himself. And when I was young, people would come back and we used to, we have stayed together for quite some time. People would come back and tell me that, he talks a lot to himself, right? And now I envy him, is because, he can talk to himself and he can give himself all the good bad information. So talk good to yourself, take that time, step back, reflect on what you are trying to do, and take very good emotional care of yourself. Okay, so Diksha, do we have questions in the chat group? Let me, okay. So Nivedita, we have there is a growth MBA bootcamp that is there. Yeah, except Sparsh. Okay. So see, storytelling is one thing that I would like to tell you. Okay. Okay. Shubhra Singh has said that, for the leaders there are translators. For us, we have our phones. The technology is fast moving towards where we have apps. You can speak in any language; it will convert to any language of your choice. Okay, that reason, that what I wanted to say there was that, it is about the message. It is not about the language. All right. The translators that they have in real life, we have digital translators with ourselves, and it is also about the message, right? Okay. So uh, a lot of questions is, you know we have discussed most of the things. If you have any more questions, please, we can spend another 5 minutes discussing about it. Otherwise, you have given your feedback. The registration link is on the chat window. Do register. Our inside sales team will give you a call and we'll discuss about it. And please check out AntWak. Even if you don't, what if you are a professional, you want to get better, please check out AntWak. We have wonderful professionals from across the world who share their knowledge. So we will have more and more such sessions coming in the next 15-20 days. So check out our events page, check out our calendar. We have a program on digital marketing, we have a program on cyber security, we have a program on data engineering, we are launching our own sales program. So yeah, so if you are a professional, AntWak is a place you want to be. Okay. uh, it is for your growth and it is for your learning, and we exist because you exist. With that, this is me signing off, and thank you for all who have joined today. All right. uh, Thank you so very much. If you have any questions, I'll wait for another 2 minutes. But this is me thanking all who has joined, on this Friday evening. I wish you all the success in life and a wonderful, wonderful weekend. You have a good day. Thank you, Basaraj. Thank you, Mahesh. Okay, since we don't have any more questions, let's end this. Thank you so much, guys. You have a good day. Bye.